Welcome to Law Flip. It's a new location, new set, new everything, new style. We didn't really interview him. We had join us as a guest in the new format, my friend and mentor, D. Murthy. He's the founder and CEO of the Menlo Club. It's a huge clothing line that's been around. It's been a staple of LA for 20 years. We went to USC together. We've worked together. And he's always got an opinion on everything. And he was the perfect person to start this podcast off. I'm really excited to share it with you. We tried something different. We went for a little bit less, edited, a little bit less produced. And it was really, really fun. We talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about Kim Kanye, obviously. We talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about Biden's crack pipes. We talked about the definition of a vaccine. We talked about kids wearing masks in schools. We talked about the $4.5 billion crypto scheme. What else did we talk about?
MTG.
MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the dumbest human being to ever live and also be in Congress, and how she somehow is inspiring to people. What else? We talked about Congress's move to ban members from trading stocks. We talked about Trump staying BFFs with Kim Jong-un even after he left the White House, and so much more. Check out this episode right now.
Law flip, objection, your honor.
Turn the game upside down.
Law flip, objection, your honor.
Turn the game upside down. So excited to have D. Murthy on the podcast. This is a new podcast, new setup. Where actually what happened was D stole my producer Ariane, and in exchange for stealing that, I took another page out of the D. Murthy handbook. And he always talks about getting things for free.
Yes.
And he loves going to Vegas and having a whole weekend with H-Wood and partying, and he gets the whole weekend done for free.
Yeah.
So what I did was, in exchange for him stealing my producer, I get a podcast studio for free. We'll see how long it lasts. So we're so excited to have D here. He's been a mentor. He's been a friend. We've known each other for 20 years. I did some legal work for him back in the day.
Yeah.
He's just been a great influence on my life, and I'm so excited to have him here. And what we're going to do is I'm shifting a little bit. I'm moving away from my more produced, edited stuff, and moving more towards like the stuff that I like to listen to, which is Group Chat, which is D's podcast. He's a founder and CEO of Menlo Club. It's a fashion group of companies that has probably like 100. How many employees?
Under 100 now.
Under 100 employees.
A lot of people have left.
A lot of people have left. All right. Hey, it's post-COVID time. So then he also has a great podcast called Group Chat. It's the only podcast that I listen to. It's amazing. It's three times a week. So excited to have him here. We're going to jump straight into it. We're going to go straight into Kim Kanye.
Yes.
It's the perfect intersection of pop, law, just everything. And obviously anybody who's alive knows that Kim and Kanye have gotten divorced.
Is that official?
Or they're in the process.
Okay.
Kim wants to be deemed to be single for some reason before the full thing goes through. I actually had Laura Wasser, who's her attorney, on my podcast. And look, it's kind of just this amazing thing because the Kardashians are so powerful and they could silence almost anybody.
Yeah.
The only person that they can't totally silence is Kanye. And I was just thinking, in law, you would want Kanye to shut his mouth, right, as a client. But like the bottom line is these are two people that have to figure out a deal. So he's in this kind of this bargaining position, where, yes, if it ever went to trial, which these cases don't go to trial, it wouldn't be good. But he really can influence how
court of public opinion.
The court of public opinion. So I don't know. What's your take on this whole thing?
I think, first, I think for the children, it's really tough.
Devastating.
Yeah, right. Just seeing, especially the oldest child, North, probably realizes what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe the younger kids don't have a clue what's going on.
Yeah.
But and it's public, right? These are the most famous children on earth. They're more people probably know Kanye and Kim's kid than the royal family kids. And so I think the challenge is how do you handle your children, but it's amazing content for everybody else. And so that's the problem. We can't get enough of it. And we talked about this on our podcast, that it was Kardashian Jenner usually get their way, and they are able. They're such a powerful machine, and
They get Instagram posts taken down. They get whatever they want.
They control TMZ.
Yeah.
They control the narrative all the time.
Right.
Not with Kanye. They do
Yeah.
not control the narrative. He controls it. And so every time she goes and posts, you see the comments from his fans. They're upset. They're like, "Why are you taking away this man's children?"
And I went through a divorce myself. I haven't talked about it much, but it's a really tough process, even when people are acting at their doing their best. Like when everybody is acting civilly, it's not in the public eye. Just figuring out like the details and sharing custody and going to birthday parties and all these things. The idea of airing that out and dealing with Kanye, who is erratic and is all over the place, and then dealing on the other side with a power, sort of controlling family. I wish I could get inside info from Laura Wasser, because like this has got to be the most fascinating negotiation you could ever imagine. So
because
anyway.
it's not going to be about money, it's going to be about the control.
Absolutely, like custody, physical, legal.
Yes.
Who's gonna be watching the kids? Is it gonna be the nannies? He's talking about nanny schedules on his songs and beating Kim Kardashian's new boyfriend's ass on songs, and talking about how he's not negotiating with therapists on the songs. It's just wild. So anyway, we'll obviously talk a lot about that one, it's crazy. So on to a topic that you and I have to deal with as well. We got kids. I got one kid in Santa Monica schools. You have, and I have another kid in a private school. Your kids are in what?
Preschool
private?
still.
Preschool,
Yeah.
right? So in LAUSD, I think it's all controlled very much by like the unions and everything. Santa Monica has actually been, I would say, better. They've been able to keep open longer and all that stuff. What we've seen recently is really kind of like a wave of very slow California, like a drip. There was just set for February 16th when California is poised to lift the mask mandates for vaccinated residents in indoor places, but the change would not immediately affect Los Angeles until public health officials modify their local rules. And so obviously educators and families are bracing for another round of shifts. Like where do you see this going with masks in schools? Because I'm certainly ready for these things to come off these kids.
I think it's going to happen actually quite quickly. So obviously we know LA County still said no, but I think the Super Bowl is this weekend.
Yeah.
There's going to be 100 million people watching this game, and no one's going to be wearing a mask. And it's in the city of Los Angeles. And so I think that's going to put so much pressure on the politicians. I mean, Gavin Newsom and Eric Garcetti already blew it last week.
When Eric Garcetti was holding his breath for the photo.
For 4 hours he was holding his breath. So these guys are idiots. They're making every big PR mistake when they operate. And I think what's going to happen is look, court of public opinion matters, especially for politicians.
Yep.
And politicians are going to feel the heat. They have midterm elections coming up. You don't want to be the person that made kids continue to wear masks.
How about just even like the crazy things about like if you were in the same room or same vicinity as this person, the whole class is home for 10. I mean, they're loosening that up kind of, but like people can't do it. They cannot be stay-at-home parents and productive in society, and people are getting miserable, and they can't take it anymore. So, and the other thing is that I think my girlfriend pointed out there was some meme. How can you claim that you're in a state of an emergency and hosting the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. That's why I think after this week, everything is going to change rapidly. And I think the challenge is that on the children's side, there's like the vaccination talk, and it's such a polarizing topic.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, everyone's an adult. You make your decision for your family. If your family wants to roll the dice, that's on you.
I hear that. Look, I have a really weird thing. I'm a very pro-science, pro-vaccine person.
Yeah.
I hate to even say this because I like to maintain the pro-vaccines point of view, and I don't like to give any ammo to any idea of not vaccinating. I just happen to have a weird side effect that the doctors like attributed to it, which is I developed this thing called tinnitus, or as normal people call it, tinnitus.
Got it.
And it like loud ringing in my ears after the thing. I went through hell, all these steroid injections, everything. So I'm just a little bit more sympathetic, empathetic, understanding than I ever was to the anti-vax position, because I was like I had a very hard time with anybody who was anti-vax. So look, with your kids, it's hard and all these things shifting, but
The thing with the kids, like, look, if at the end of the day the schools require vaccine, I'm not going to pull my kids out of school for vaccination.
There's no chance.
The one thing that you have seen is that as the pandemic raged on, children were basically unaffected in the grand scheme
by both COVID and the vaccine. I haven't heard, somebody will correct me here, but I haven't heard. Well, first of all, I haven't heard any real data from any place that people have died or had crazy side effects from the vaccine.
Yeah.
But I certainly haven't heard any real data that kids are having crazy reactions to the vaccine and tens of millions of
not even the vaccine, just COVID in general.
COVID in general, yeah.
My children got it.
Yeah.
And they're young children, and they had a cold, and
they both had COVID.
They both had COVID.
And you haven't seen any sort of side effects or anything
No,
like that.
I mean, they're completely fine. And I think a lot of children had COVID the last kind of 90 days with Omicron, and knock on wood, it seems like kids are remain to be unaffected.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard. Thank God, because if they were,
then it would be a disaster, and there'd have to be proper policies put in place. But like, we're seeing people, everything is rolling out. Like, the thing about the mask that we've talked about a lot from people who are far smarter than us is that most of society doesn't wear the mask correctly.
Correct.
We don't even wear the right
masks.
Our kids are not wearing N95s.
Yeah.
They're wearing like a camo, like cotton mask that clearly, and then even then, I don't even know how he's wearing the mask. I see pictures of him at school, and he's got it on his chin. I was like, well, at least make him wear it, right?
And that's the thing. Like, we all probably believe that if you were gonna do this stuff, the only way to really make it work was a true lockdown, a really true tight enforcement of these things.
What happened in China, which we can't do?
Well, I mean, who knows what the hell happened in China anyway?
Well, yeah, I'm sure they just, they follow rules over there.
They follow rules or die.
Yeah.
Okay, so a very natural transition from kids in schools wearing masks to these crack pipes that the Biden administration was sending out. So basically, the Republicans, including little Marco Rubio, they're saying the Biden administration is handing out crack pipes to advance the cause of racial equality, and they don't like racial equality at all. But they love to highlight this like supposed handing out of crack pipes. The Department of Human and Health Services said that they are not providing crack pipes, but the what's really happening is, and like the nuanced take that nobody wants to talk about is, we are in the craziest crisis of drug addiction ever. And if you know anybody that's addicted to anything, it's fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And so the idea that there are alternative treatments, or that the government is smart enough to hand out like clean needles, that sounds crazy. Clean needles, clean pipes. But what happens is, when people don't have that stuff, it just you can't deny that addiction actually exists. It exists, and people need to do it if they're going to do it in a safe and effective way. But like, I just thought about the fact that like Republicans, like, they're pouncing on this, and it's like they love being pro-life. They know that addiction is a real thing, but they pounce on this issue of like giving out alternative treatments for addiction. But I don't see them mentioning anything about how to help people that are addicted to anything.
Well, politics is the ultimate form of marketing. So it's like, if even on the Democratic side, like, the optics of it doesn't look good.
It looks horrible,
right? So you can't, even though politics is the decisions you make is what will get you reelected.
Right.
Like, it's not actually about doing good for the society.
For sure.
So like, if you're playing to
raising
win,
money.
Yeah, raise money. If you're in a time where crime is a concern, people's wallets are concerned, like, this looks like wasteful spending on top of like, why are you giving them access to things to do drugs cleaner?
Yeah.
Because, the counter argument is like, survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
It'll get weeded out. And I think like we want to be optimistic that we'll actually help people in society. And like, look, I think innately people want to do that, but like to actually do it
Yeah.
is such a daunting task for most people that I think, I don't know.
But there's some good evidence to suggest that like providing these tools and by the way, the CDC said that's actually not real and they're not handing out crack pipes, but there is good evidence from a bunch of groups to suggest that like giving addicts, safe ways to do drugs is actually an effective way to reduce infections and all sorts of other stuff like spreading. So,
So I mean, I guess the argument in that case is like we're legalizing gambling. Eventually, prostitution will be legal. Whatever, everything's going to be legal. So,
I think it should be.
So
I mean,
then if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, we're already legalizing everything else.
I don't understand it. Like alcohol is extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
It's legal. Like
Gambling is extremely.
gambling is one of the most awful things.
There's
you
no
could-
upside in gambling.
Nothing. And the thing about like drugs is like nobody that wants drugs of any kind is going to ever have a hard time finding drugs. So the idea of making it illegal, this is the same thing as everything else. It's like if you're going to make it illegal, truly make it illegal. Like
Yeah.
don't make it accessible.
Yeah.
You can get crack, you can get coke, you can get anything you want. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. So on to one of your favorite topics, which is crypto type stuff. A 4.5 billion crypto crime stars, a New York City couple, stolen Bitcoin, and all sorts of other shenanigans. So basically, this like very social, like this couple who's on the scene in New York.
Yeah.
They're out and about. They're on TikTok.
They're insane. They're insane people.
They
Insane
do
people.
all sorts of crazy stuff. They basically. This is what happened. The Department of Justice says that the Bitcoin stolen during this 2016 hack was sent to a digital wallet controlled by this couple, and then to another mechanism via complex laundering scheme. And the cryptocurrency was at that point worth 71 million, and that was in 2016. Now the stash is worth 4.5 billion. They get arrested. They first get bail. Then the prosecutor's like, no. These people cannot be out.
Yeah.
They have to be locked up until
Yeah.
like pending this trial. They're sophisticated scam artists. Like tell me, like I thought the idea with Bitcoin was like they were going to be able to track things immediately. It took 6 years to figure this out. Is Bitcoin as like transparent and traceable as we thought it was?
So you can trace where the money is going, but you might not be able to trace whose money it is.
Right.
Like I've seen, people's hacked wallets, and you could follow the trail.
Did you?
I had an issue with one of my wallets, and I saw it go through, like it was stolen.
And what happens?
It's gone.
Your
can't
money's gone.
Money's gone.
Not too much, was it?
We won't talk about it.
Jesus. Do you get insurance on that, by the way?
Not yet. This is
That's
why,
not bad.
like, when you think about, like, when you go out into the wild world of decentralized finance and NFTs, it is a very scary place.
Yep.
So, like, when I buy Bitcoin or Ethereum, there's a little bit more controls there.
Right.
But like today, the stuff that we're all doing on
Uh-huh.
these platforms is wild shit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to access it. So it's scary.
Speaking of scam artists and like just shady behavior, Congress moves to ban members from trading stocks as Pelosi drops her opposition. So I remember like a few months ago, they asked her like, should Congress be still engaging in trading
Yeah.
of stocks? And she's like, absolutely. It's a free market. Everybody should do
Yeah.
it. And something happened. Maybe she just finally made enough money because her husband has like tens of millions of
Yeah.
dollars. Very wealthy guy that she's married to. She claims she has no, she herself has no stocks. But finally, they're introducing a ban on, or some form of ban. Like Elizabeth Warren and a couple others are like basically introducing a pretty extreme ban on trading stocks. This seems like a no-brainer. What's your thought?
I think trading individual stocks is, it's the equivalent of like, you work at a publicly traded company. There's strict security rules
Right.
on when you can sell and when you can buy and things of that nature. I think I don't mind if these folks are investing money, but depending on what type of industry or company you work at, you can restrict it and say, okay, members of Congress can hold index funds.
Uh-huh.
That's fine. You want to hold the S&P 500? I think that's fair. If you want to just
Yeah.
park your money somewhere, you want to buy bonds, you want to do those things. Literally trading like, oh, I'm gonna buy Moderna. The vaccine's coming out. Like that is
Well,
ridiculous.
it's like you're making the health decisions, national security decisions.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
making the most important decisions.
oh,
for the
I talked
entire...
to Jerome Powell. He's raising interest rates. He told me how much. That affects the price of stocks.
Yeah, I just don't see a justification for how congressmen could be trading stocks.
Yeah.
Um,
That's part of my thing where I always believe that in order to get your best and brightest in anything, it's about money.
well, that's the idea. So you always talk about on your podcast how like you don't want to disincentivize, founders and CEOs by doing like clawbacks if like let's say Peloton, for instance, you love
Yeah.
Peloton is your shining moment.
Exactly.
That's like the greatest moment, the greatest call you've ever made. You've been saying that Peloton is going to be garbage forever.
Yeah.
But you were basically saying like, or you were on your podcast were saying that like that's a one example where you should be able to go after the CEO who's made hundreds of millions of dollars and claw back some money. But then the counter argument to that is, hey, you're going to disincentivize founders if you put blocks on them selling
Yeah.
and profiting off stuff and then later having the company fail. The argument is congressmen, the best and brightest, are not going to want to be congressmen if you don't let them trade stocks.
I'm not saying, I don't think it has to do with trade stocks. We spend trillions of dollars, and a lot of it is waste.
Right.
And so why not pay our Congress people fucking market salaries? Like, you want the smartest people working as.
But the market salaries include stock options and all sorts
Sure,
of shit.
but I'm just saying, like, the cash salary that these Congress people make for how important their jobs are
Right.
is nothing.
Like the president makes $400,000.
Yeah, pay them $1 million a year.
Right.
So that, you know what? A smart young person's like, fuck, I make $1 million being a congressman.
Right.
So now and by the way, you cut the budget. If your state has surplus, the mayors, the city council, and the Congress people all get a percentage of that.
I like that. I'm
So
down
then
with
all of a
that.
sudden you have $50 million of bonus. Some like random governors putting $10 million in their pocket. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
If
and it
you
really
help-
incentivizes like the business-minded people who
Yeah,
would
budgets, school education,
Yeah.
test scores. Oh, we're graduating 100% of our kids.
Right.
Like you create incentives for all the things in society. Look, if you have a more educated society, it's proven crime goes down. You have a more well-read society. Child issues go down. All these things are obvious,
Right.
very obvious. So you incentivize the politicians to give resources for those things, and then they're rewarded.
Right.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. Speaking of congressmen, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene. So this woman, she's nothing more in life she loves than a Nazi comparison.
Yeah.
She was born for it. She loves it.
Yeah.
She dreams of it. So she's known for these conspiracy theories, and she basically referred to, there was like some security officer that went into a particular congressman's office, and she's like, now we have Nancy Pelosi's Gazpacho police, and what she's really referring to is the Gestapo, the Nazi Germany, like security forces, and she's referring to the cold soup, which is, by the way, I've never liked Gazpacho.
Gazpacho is disgusting.
It's disgusting, but basically, like, the whole claim was bullshit in the first place. Nobody was even spying on anybody. But the bigger point for me was, like, she is one of those people, and I don't, like, it's just when she speaks, there are certain people in Congress that I know. You have, like, all the Ivy League educated, like, Republicans or Democrats who they feign ignorance. Like, know they're smart,
Yeah, they're
but they kind of,
purposely-
like,
yeah.
they purposely dumb it
pandering
down.
to it, yeah.
She is one of those people that when she talks, she's a moron. Like, you just know there's like the lights are out.
Yeah.
And so this goes to, like, sort of the next thing I was going to talk about, which is, like, why the most qualified person for a job hardly ever is. And, like, there's this whole concept of, like, we always pick the best and brightest, and like the best qualified person gets a job. And like Brian Flores in the NFL didn't get the job, even though he was potentially the most qualified. And with her, I just think it's like it's sad that someone like her that's so stupid could be in such a powerful position, but it is a little bit like inspiring that like if because I used to like when I was growing up, I looked at a congressman as like Jesus, that is like impossible.
Yeah.
And now I see somebody like so dumb like her, and I'm like, I could be a congressman.
Yeah.
And like you talk about this sometimes too. It's like once you start really getting elevated and you deal with CEOs and all this type of stuff and high level lawyers and Harvard lawyers and this and that, you really start you get in the room with them and you're like they're not that smart. Like what's your experience with the pedigree and the smart people that you've dealt with?
So the smartest people I know are not the most successful people.
Right.
Right? They do fine, and they would still be considered the top echelon of society. The most successful people I know, there's something they had like an it factor to them. In often cases, it is a very much like salesman charisma.
Yeah.
To be a CEO, a publicly traded CEO, for example, is a figurehead. Are they in the trenches of the business?
They can't be in a really big company.
No, they can't. You are there to message the vision of the company, inspire your staff, make investors feel calm. And I think that's like a tactic that you learn as you get older, but some people are just gifted at that. And it has nothing to do with intelligence. It's emotional intelligence. And I think that people don't, I see a lot of young people that are very frustrated. I used to be like that. I was like, man, I know I'm working harder. I'm doing something better. But it really comes down to like, even raising money, because we're in a raising money climate. Yep. There are certain people that can just do it and get people to give them money. Like I have that quality, right? Like I know I can. My hit rate is going to be very fucking high. And
what's the key to raising money?
Trust. They're not giving your business money. They're giving you. And so there's something like they have to have that feeling of like I'm giving. A lot of investors always say, and investors don't act like this, but some do. The best do. That we don't invest in ideas, we invest in people.
Right.
So when you're a early stage founder of any business, they're betting on you. They're not betting on your idea. Your idea is going to change.
Right.
It's going to evolve, right? So at the end of the day, like, do I trust this person that they're going to do the best for the business? Do I feel like I could be with them for the next decade on this investment? And I think often people get wrapped up about the minutia of the idea, but it's more about the vision and then like how you come across as a human being.
And like when you've seen people cut big checks, that's what the central theme is.
Yeah, I mean, like there are founders that we've been in the room with where I'm just like, man, this is a lot of bullshit, but it is so like endearing because they're just like, if you look at the end of the day. As an investor, you have to drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't. Dude, what do you know when someone's starting a business? If you're giving them a $5-10 million check, you're just hoping they figure it out. Like there's not enough data to, what data are you looking at when you're investing in early stage or Series A? There's no data. There's like very little data points to make that decision. So you're literally like, you want Adam Newman to walk in the room. Because Adam Newman's telling you that he's going to change the way people live. And, you got
the WeWork founder.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as crazy as that business turned out to be, but like I guarantee you, if you heard him in those early days pitching the business as an investor, you're like, hey, we're rolling. This is what we do.
I haven't followed him closely. Like, was he moving in good faith? Like, did he start WeWork and did he actually, like, was he trying to dupe people or was he like really going in there with good faith?
I think his intentions were good in the beginning. I would say that. I think some people have a different view. I think what happens is as you get more money, more power, you start thinking that you could build this like utopian society, and he was building schools. It was a classic case of like narcissism and like distraction and not focusing on your core business.
Speaking of narcissism, let's talk about somebody who knows nothing about that, which is Trump.
Okay.
Trump has told people, according to Maggie Haberman, his favorite New York Times reporter, that since leaving office, he's remained in contact with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. I love this story.
Yeah.
Like, What do you think his obsession is with that little sicko?
Because he's ruling a country the way Trump would love to rule.
He really is.
If you're a leader of a country, United States is not the desired place to run a country.
You have checks and balances.
Yeah, you don't actually have any power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you could just talk, but you don't have any. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Whereas in those countries, you are the law. You are the way things go.
D, you've given us everything we've needed from you in the first episode. What can we say? We got your place for free.
Yes.
We got you for free. We just need the Super Bowl tickets for free. What's next? Anyway, what's your pick for the Super Bowl?
I'm LA. I always root for anything LA. Rams all the way.
I was born and raised a New York fan, but I'm gonna go for the LA hometown crew.
Yeah.
Although that quarterback on Cincinnati just looks cool as hell.
Yeah, he looks like a badass, but I don't know. Rams are star-studded.
I appreciate you, man. You've been incredible to me. You've been helpful to me.
My pleasure.
Hopefully, I'll be able to pay you back at some point.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
All right, now we are going to move to our legal tip.
This is the legal tip of the moment, sponsored by the Sluggers at Benowitz Law Corporation. If you are a California employee who works for a private employer with 26 or more employees and you miss work for a COVID-related reason between January 1st, 2022 and September 30th, 2022, you have rights to supplemental COVID sick pay. The new rules for this are tricky, and you should contact an experienced California employment lawyer like me to find out more of your rights. So contact the Benowitz Law Corporation for advice on the new supplemental COVID sick pay rules.
My name is Benji Smith. I'm the founder and managing partner at Smith Law. We do employment, personal injury, and class action. So, how do you know if you've been wrongfully terminated? Usually, you're an at-will employee, and you can be fired for pretty much any reason, except an illegal reason. What is an illegal reason? Well, it could be that they breached an agreement with you. It could be they discriminated against you. It could be they harassed you. It could be they failed to pay you. You complained about it, and then they fired you. It could be they sexually harassed you, and you complained about it, and they fired you. It could be that you complained about working conditions, and they fired you. If anything like that happens, or anything even close to that happens, call us, and we're happy to give you a free and confidential consultation. Everybody, hopefully you enjoyed the new format, the new way, the new style that we did the episode. We really appreciate D coming on. You could find him anywhere. Just type his name in, D Murthy, DEEMURTHY. He was incredible. We loved him. Thank you so much, D, for having us in the podcast studio. We will see you next time, Law Flip.
Law flip, objection, Your Honor. Turn the game upside down. Law flip, objection, Your Honor. Turn the game upside down.
Connect with us on Instagram. We're at LawFlip. LawFlip is produced by Blue Crescent Media. You can learn more about BCM at bluecrescentmedia.com. Our intro music is provided by Penn Practice, and our LawFlip identity was created by Garrett Whiston and Travis Nagel. And lastly, this podcast is made available by Smith & Benowitz for educational and entertainment purposes only. By listening to this podcast, you understand that no attorney-client relationship is being formed between you and Smith & Benowitz or any of its attorneys. This podcast should not be used as a substitute for competent legal advice from a licensed professional attorney in your state. To the extent this podcast may be considered an advertisement, Benjamin Smith is the attorney responsible for this advertisement. Thank you.
Upside down.